Good morning. I want to certainly introduce you to our day 3 of CIDCI Fall Forum. My name is Stuart Ekblad, and I would like to wish everyone a good morning. My role at CIDCI is I am a chair and one of the founders for the CIDCI program. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone again a good morning. I know we have people here and others. It's actually not morning; it's in the afternoon. So again, thank you and welcome for our next 90-minute session. So today, in the midst of the pandemic, the challenge of innovation has never really been greater. So we want to thank you for being joining us, and in this particular, being able to use this medium as we move forward. So who are we? So we're an organization that is made up of architects and builders and owners, and industry itself and academics. And what we try to do is to be a catalyst for innovation. So we offer forums that we have presented over the time, over each year, each month or every other month. We do a forums of salons. We also have a newsletter that we provide after each of our events. So I'm going to make this very short. I'm actually having computer problems, and I apologize for that. So, but moving forward, I'm going to introduce Rebecca Snelling. And but before I do that, I really wanted to thank Bosch, who has been has really sponsored our programs, and I really appreciate that. So moving forward, I'm going to introduce Rebecca Snelling. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Stuart. I am thrilled to be here this morning. The last 2 days have been great, and I'm really looking forward to this morning's session where we get to explore the Bosch innovation story. So Bosch was founded in 1886, and they're one of the most respected engineering and manufacturing companies in the world. Less than 5 years ago, their power tools division began to focus on software that could allow them to think and consider new possibilities. So we're going to explore, how did this dramatic shift gain traction within the company? How is the idea sold to leaders? What could future innovations maybe look like? So, and how does an organization that has been around for so long actually stay on top of their innovation game? We'll hear from 3 different Bosch leaders who've been working all around the globe. First, we'll hear from Rafael Franca. He's the head of business management at RefinemySite. He's an intrapreneur responsible for building and growing new businesses for Bosch within the construction industry. Following Rafael, we're going to hear from Fermin Fernandez, the Bosch Chicago Connectory lead and director of IoT innovation. He was the founding project manager and managing director of the Chicago Connectory and leads the Bosch IoT digital innovation team in the US. Then we'll hear from Stefan, the global product owner of the lean collaboration platform Bosch RefinemySite. He worked as a developer and a project lead in the fields of robotics and connectivity applications before moving into construction. So Rafael, would you like to go ahead and get us started?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rebecca, and thanks everyone for joining. So I'm going to kick off our presentation just to give a little background on how did we stay as one of the most innovative companies here. Great. So thanks everyone again. Our title today is really creating technology invented for life. And how did everything started, right? So as Rebecca already introduced us, it's going to be myself, Stefan, and Fermin to present today. And I'm going to start only with a very short background about Bosch, right? So one, it is a company that is always investing in people, innovation, and the environment. And you will have access to this presentation later, but we have already around 20,000 people working directly with artificial intelligence. Roughly, we invest about 3 billion euros per year into new business areas as well. So there's a lot of innovation going on. It is a carbon neutral company as well. So that's pretty much the basics of our strategy. Just to give you an overview about how innovative this company is, only taking 2020, we created around 6,000 patents were filed, which means about 22 new patents a day. So it's a lot of innovation going on within Bosch. And for more than over 100 years, it's been definitely considered on the top of one of the most innovative companies, as you can see. So what does Bosch do? We're definitely going to walk you through and get into construction, but Bosch is not only about it. So majority of our business still on the mobility, but also we worked a lot on technology for home as well. Also, we're very present on manufacturing in factory, digitizing, innovating in manufacturing as well. We're already celebrating over a decade with Industry 5.0 within Bosch as well. Also, building technology is pretty strong business as well for the company, but also wearables and smart solutions as well for us on a living city as well. Health is one of the divisions that Bosch had as well. And construction, absolutely. We use the know-how that we have to increase productivity in the construction industry. In 2020, Bosch became a carbon neutral company across the globe. And our products and solutions that we build within Bosch, we always use these here for everything we do. It has to spark enthusiasm on our users and enhance everyone's quality of life. That should be our driver and for every new product that we develop. A little bit about who we are. One, it's very interesting to show like the ownership structure within Bosch. About 92% of the company is owned by our charitable foundation called Bosch, Bosch Stiftung, and only 7% of the company is owned by the family. So there's a lot of investments and a lot of giving back to the society, which is 92% is owned by the charitable foundation that Bosch has. Last year, the revenue of Bosch total was 85 billion US dollars and about 2.5 billion margin operations. And there's over about 400,000 people working with more than 70 countries. You can see here the split by region, but here in the United States, or I'll say Americas, sorry, not only United States, but the America regions, it's about 12 billion euros, and it's about 17% of the total revenue of the Bosch here. And there's about 40,000 people, 45,000 people working in the region. Just going through very quick. So one of the biggest business that Bosch has is mobility solutions, which is about 6% of the total share of the business. So that's how really Bosch started as well. Then we have industrial technology, which is about 7% of the Bosch business. Energy and building, which is about 8% of the business. And this is the division where we are representing here today, which is called the consumer goods division, which goes all the way from home appliances to power tools. That's us. We're the Bosch Power Tools division. And that division, the consumer goods area from Bosch is about 26% of total, of the total business that we have. Important to mention that really it is a company that is really focusing on sustainability and environmental friendly. And 2020, we achieved the carbon neutrality globally. That's a great achievement for Bosch as well. So few examples that what we did, for example, was this PCR test was developed very quickly by the Bosch software team last year as well. And that was one example as well. So we have a lot of expertise as well on electronics, on the automotive division as well. And another example was this emergency call system for motorcycles and e-bikes as well. Definitely working on 5G. This is great as well, great achievement for Bosch, and working on this hydrogen powered boiler as well in UK, and this self-parking. So Bosch worked very close and connected to all car manufacturing, or as we call OEMs, for example. So all systems that you see on cars, the sensors, is all developed by Bosch. So where we want to go, just to give a little bit under background as well on R&D for Bosch. So imagine that we have 73,000 people working on R&D globally, 34,000 people really working on software development. And we've been consistently investing about 8% on R&D. That's very high in the industry. I think if you look into all industries globally, the average investment on R&D is about 2.5, 3%. Bosch has been consistently investing over 88% on R&D. That's what keeps also us being one of the most innovative companies as well. For us, extremely important is we call our AIoT, or artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. For us, that's key. Bosch will become a global AIoT leader by 2025. Mobility, everything that comes to connectivity, electrification, automation, it's being developed by Bosch. Smart homes as well. Industry 5.0. And construction 4.0. That's where we are. So where do we come from? Definitely, this is our founder, Robert Bosch, and I really like when he said that none of us should be satisfied with has been achieved. So constantly, always working to develop and striving to develop more businesses. Again, 92% owned by this charitable foundation. This is how it started in November 15, 1886 in Stuttgart. That's where the headquarters of the company is located. There are some milestones, but I think I don't need to go through here, but Bosch has been one of the companies in the very early stages, really starting going internationally and expanding its businesses across other products which went beyond automotive. So since the beginning, Robert Bosch was definitely an entrepreneur and a visionary that was really going towards not only doing business in Germany, but also going internationally into other markets. I want to share very quickly about our digital trust. When you talk about digital, when we talk about software, so one is to create something that's very easy to use, and all our applications, they have to be always keeping our users in mind. Definitely the users are the drivers for everything that we do and our decisions. Data, we have had to be extremely sensitive to data, especially against unauthorized access as well. So we really go above and beyond on everything that comes on building digital trust. And now we're gonna start with the fun part. How did this company manage to become innovative? One, and I'll walk you through very quick. Leadership, very important. Explore new businesses, but also exploit existing business with existing technology. The organization had to shift as well and become more agile. So breaking hierarchies and creating more of these cross-functional teams. We needed to work inside out and outside in, and Fermin will walk you through, and always being user-centric. So leadership is key for us. So this is our current CEO, Mr. Danner, and always being very supportive on focusing on innovation. Innovation for us is key for this business. We need to go beyond our core business. So that's how Stefan will gonna walk you through how did the Power Tools division really went beyond hardware to explore businesses, for example, with software as well. And the way we're doing innovation in the past, it wasn't really working. So we have many different projects and doing a lot of investments, but the approach didn't really work well. So then I think one of the greatest things that we created is to create like an innovation framework where we would go from the ideation all the way through the funnel validation, and then we will only make the right investments on those projects that would be more, which had the higher potential as well. And one of the examples that we used is our innovation framework. So it's very strict, the process. Every single innovation, they need to go through this innovation framework process within Bosch. And we have some milestones. So this IM, so innovation milestone 0 all the way through innovation milestone 5 as well. So this is pretty much how does Bosch works within innovation. And I'm gonna walk you through. One of the examples that we're gonna share with you today is the Bosch Accelerator program that Bosch RefinemySite did go through. Not only the phase 1 accelerator program, but also the phase 2. And like every startup outside Bosch, around 2% of the innovation ideas or projects, they go through into the final stages. So one, for example, is the innovation phase 1. Just to give an example, is the customer discovery phase. So we're going to focus a lot on customers' interviews, understanding the pain points, understanding the needs, doing a lot of experimentation here. And then if we pass this phase, then we're going to go to the phase 2, where we call customer validation, where we see now we're going to validate all those ideas that we went through on the first step. We're going to validate it as well now with an MVP or a minimum viable product now with a prototype. And if we pass them through this phase as well, we're going to keep going into the next phase as well. There's always a go or no go decision by the board of management from Bosch, where the teams, if they go through every single phase, they need to go. So what are the criteria they're looking for? The team, the value capture, customer need, if there's a strategic opportunity for Bosch, and if we're creating a repeatable, scalable business model, and what value are we delivering. We're seeing many projects having a no-go decision, where we made RefinemySite have a go decision as well. So we went through this. It's definitely over a year-long process to go through this whole funnel or phases that I showed before. It's a big assessment which they go through. They have the internal business consultant team doing the assessment to make sure that we're going through and delivering everything that we mentioned before. Without further ado, I'm gonna now hand over to Fermin, and he's gonna talk now our partnerships with inside out and outside in as well within Bosch.
Thank you, Rafael. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me and see me well. My name is Fermin Fernandez, and I'm responsible for the Chicago Connectory, which, as you can see, is a partnership by Bosch and another company called 1871, which is the largest incubator in the Midwest of the United States. So yeah, what are we, and why did Bosch invest time and resources to develop the Chicago Connectory? So we, as Rafael was explaining, the developing innovation for Bosch in hardware has been going on for many, many years. But working innovation in terms of software and digital products, it doesn't really work the same way, right? I mean, it's not the same way to develop a dishwasher or washing machine in your lab and testing it and sending it out to customers. And hopefully, if the quality is right, the customer will never call you to ask for a repair. In software is a completely different game for Bosch. So what we realized very fast that we needed to learn how to partner and how to work with other companies in a community-based situation. So what we did is open this physical space called the Connectory, in which we have a mix of companies that are not Bosch owned and companies that are, like in the example of Rafael, that are Bosch products or projects. And what we are doing is getting all these groups of people together and drive some events and some activities in the community to help them drive these conversations forward in maybe in an organic way. So how do we do that? Well, we have a few activities that I will mention in other slides, but we also try to stretch out the community so that it includes the rest of the ecosystem that you need to be successful in innovation. That means universities to attract talent or where research is happening, city-based partners and corporations. For example, we have a very good cooperation with the city of Chicago and Illinois, and they are always interested in showcasing the Connectory as a place to do innovation. Mm-hmm. So which domains are important for us in the Connectory? So we want go into projects that are outside of Internet of Things or outside certain domains, like Rafael was saying. So the domains are mobility solutions, because Bosch is very strong in automotive and in some related technologies around cars. The second one is smart city. Why smart city? At the end of the day, there's a lot of improvements that technology and Internet of Things are opening the door to. And Bosch is very strong in the camera business, in security access for buildings, et cetera, et cetera. Then we have the connected construction, and I think Stefan and Rafael will go more in depth into that. But clearly, there's a lot to do in that area to make it more efficient and more technology based in many ways. And of course, Industry 4.0, just Bosch, by thinking about how many production plants Bosch has in the world, we have a very big footprint where we can implement ideas around Internet of Things in the industry. Think about robots in the production lines. Think about sensors in our manufacturing facilities, et cetera, et cetera. So these are the focus domains that we do at the Connectory. So why did Bosch decide to partner with a company and not do it by ourselves? Well, because one part of innovation is recognizing what are your strengths and what are things that you basically don't know enough about. And growing ecosystems around innovation is not something that we felt we were capable to do by ourselves. And instead of reinventing the concept from zero, we just simply partnered with a large incubator called 1871, where they had already 500 startups going through their programs and doors, and they basically have already a good mix of venture capital programs like the one Rafael mentioned, but more related to some of the resources that exist in Chicago, so not internally Bosch, but externally, and other incubators as well that exist inside. Maybe you're familiar with Techstars. That's one of the most classical and most stronger companies around the accelerator business. So very good place to partner because they complement our offerings to our members in a very nice way. So let's move on, please, Rafael, to the next one. So what is thinking about what a member gets by being part of the Chicago Connectory? So I have another slide that shows some locations around the world, but basically we have a global footprint. So the Connectory here in Chicago was the first one we ever opened. And I always like to say, well, how come you didn't open the first Connectory in Germany? Well, first of all, we wanted to try something new, and the United States is a great place to start things that don't require a lot of processes or where people are more embracing, breaking the rules in some way, right? To try new innovative things. So basically, I worked in Germany a few years and in other places in the world, and we were able to get the pilot going in the US with the Connectory, and it was great. We learned a lot. It was very successful. Therefore, now we were able to expand it to other regions in the world. So now we have 5 of them, and by being a member in the Connectory, you get access to the other ecosystems, which makes a total sense because some solutions that maybe we develop here might be relevant as well for other regions in the world. So this is an easy way to transfer the knowledge and the ideas. You get access to 1871, as I mentioned. You get access to mentorship, which when you are innovating and you're trying to come up with new solutions, it's very important that you get feedback, right, from people that are experts in other areas that you are not familiar with. So there are 200 mentors in our portfolio that you can simply just after a phone call or an email, you can get in contact with as being part of the Connectory. The other one that is important is Internet of Things is about hardware and software together. And we always believe that you have to use all the resources possible to explain your technology, and what's better than having an actual demo, an actual product that you can touch and you can play with. Even if it's software and hardware, if you have a physical product, we are humans, right? We like to understand things with pictures by using activities. So we have a lot of demos in the space that our companies use to showcase their activities. We have a prototyping lab because at the end of the day, you have to have in Internet of Things, a physical aspect of things. And in this lab, you can do your first MVPs or your first proof of concepts. So that's the reason we have a lab over there. and of course many connections with ecosystem influencers. And then some workshops, like I think like today, you know, we have subject matter experts that talk about IoT related technologies, and all these workshops happen as part of the membership of being at the Connectory. So this is a little picture of how it looks. I know, you know, some of you, I wish we could do all these together in the Connectory all in person, but this is how we do things nowadays. So as you can see, very open space. You can see the prototyping lab in the back over there. So I think I only have like 10 minutes left, so I don't want to take too much time. And basically, we are trying to also drive co-creation. So what does that mean? So co-creation is about having Bosch and the Bosch groups not only learn about what the other companies are doing, but eventually at some point create a new proposition, a new product, a new service together. So co-creation. This is for us a good vision, because at the end of the day, we believe that those connections with smaller companies are difficult to do for a company like Bosch, but are very important in order to become more flexible, speedier into the market, and at the end, being able to be more successful with some of these ideas and patents that we discussed before. So why Connectory? You know, this interesting connection here. So we decided to do connection and factory together. Why factory? That represents the let's say the ecosystem, the DNA from Bosch, factory. And then connection is basically part of what we're trying to do here, and that's what I do every day. I'm connecting people internally, externally with external, internal with internal. That's what happens in there. Therefore, Connectory. So yeah, another nice view of how the Connectory looks. And this is what I mentioned about other locations around the world. So we have the one in Chicago, the first one we ever opened. And then we opened the one in Mexico, in Guadalajara. As you can see, some of the focus points are different. So where I am very focused on Internet of Things in Mexico, there are, because of the market and some of the businesses that are around Mexico, there are some activities around agriculture, clearly manufacturing, and also very important, as maybe some of you might heard, very difficult to get talent nowadays. So in Mexico is a good location to find in talent, to find passionate people about technology that can support those projects that need some development help. So that's the reason we opened that one over there in Guadalajara. Then we opened one obviously in Stuttgart in Germany, where maybe we don't have that many external startups and companies, but we have a large concentration of Bosch business units. So the Connectory over there is where we go to break down the silos, if you will, the business silos, to help the business units connect to each other. And of course, we wanted to have some presence in Asia. So in Shanghai, we have another Connectory. And we also have another one in Brazil, where there have been excellent solutions around agriculture and mining and some other activities. So by being a member in one, you get access basically to all of them at the same time. This is how the Guadalajara Connectory looks. So it's actually a little bit bigger than the one in Chicago. What are our three pillars? So we are very focused in education. So learning, if you come to a Connectory, you should learn something new almost every day that you come, or that you come virtually to the spaces. So you meet someone new, or you learn about some technology that is useful. Supporting corporate projects like RefinemySite, and of course, driving partners and co-creation, as I mentioned before. This is Germany, so you have a nice visual there. Okay, and I will finish my part of the presentation with this slide, because this is more strategic, and I would like to make sure we all understand why Bosch, how Bosch is playing the inside out and outside in innovation strategy. So on the left side, you see how which programs can we use to drive our view, so the Bosch view of innovation, into the market, so to say, or into the outside Bosch, basically. So what we are doing is we have the spaces like the Connectory. We have Talent Academy, where we develop our own internal talent candidates and employees, and we let them work from the Connectory so that they can come out with their ideas and express them to other people. Innovation culture. So as Rafael mentioned, the culture in innovation of Bosch is very particular. So we want to be able to share that with you, and that's what we're doing today, for example. We do trainings and workshops also from Bosch products and services and technologies. And we have this adventure program, which is our internal innovation program for IT developers. So if someone from Bosch says, oh, I think we need to add a new feature to a Bosch product that has some digital aspect, they can go through this innovation challenge. It's a little bit different from what RefinemySite went through. This is more for internal employees that have a brand new idea out of zero and they need some support in the IT side. So it's a little bit different. Now, on the right side, what you see is how Bosch is absorbing the ideas that are happening outside Bosch and bringing them into Bosch. So this is where we are taking this aspect of having an accelerator and an incubator program where we can take startups and put them through these programs to get them closer to Bosch. We have this proof of concept bootcamp with the idea to get startups in front of our VPs and top management of Bosch and work out some concepts or some ideas in a fast-paced mode. So, for example, opening your car with your phone and things like that. They went through this program in a few weeks. They were able to have a prototype that they could show to the Bosch management or other companies in Germany. Scouting, of course, so going out and see which startups are in the market that we can take in to collaborate with Bosch. The university partnerships, of course, as I mentioned, doing hackathons, for example, where we can see the students in action, solving some problems and putting demos together. And yeah, trying to match with startups. And with these programs, we can get some of that knowledge and talent into the company. So the connector is that centerpiece that allows us to do both sides of the model, the inside out and the outside in. So yeah, this is how our view of this topic. This is another nice picture of Guadalajara. You can see when it's cold in the US, you can think about going to there. It's a little bit better, the weather. There's Stuttgart, another one, and I think that's pretty much it from my side.
I'll hand over to Stefan. Now we're going to jump into more details about Bosch Power Tools division. How did RefinemySite really started, and how would a company that's been over 100 years manufacturing and delivering the best quality hardware for the construction industry, how did we make that shift to also become a software provider as well to our users? So Stefan, please.
Yes, thanks a lot, Rafa and Fermin. You gave an exciting number of information. And now I would love to give you some insights on how it is with a team within a corporate to do something totally new. I'm Stefan Gar. I'm the product owner of Bosch RefinemySite, which is a cloud-based collaboration tool. And most people of our team, of the core team who started this project at the beginning, we are new to Bosch at that moment. So we joined Bosch like 4 years ago to start actually this journey. Exactly. So Bosch Power Tools, a leading provider for power tools, delivering tools for DIY, also for the professionals, having garden tools and accessories and measuring tools. You see like a whole bunch of high quality tools. And of course, we are very proud of the quality of our tools. But there's something special about it, and I want to talk about it. If you are so good in manufacturing tools, how is it actually, how is your way if you go into something totally different? So that's actually our product. And I just want to give you some thoughts about it. So if there's a company who is like perfect in doing tools and it's very efficient, you have all the experts and knowledge, you know all the processes in delivering high-end power tools, actually the way is not so easy, even if you have gains, because of course you have access to construction. On the other side, everything is optimized for developing tools. And if you want to do something like this, a tool for agile planning, where people on the construction site can come together and define in the whole group their schedule. Yeah, that's a totally different game. And to go a bit deeper, so what I just wanted to raise as thoughts is, if you look at this, it's called impact revenue model, and it's a nice organization you see below. They actually invented a game where you can just experiment. You can experiment on finding how you can gain a huge impact for society on the one side. And you can also experiment in what would be the right revenue model, yeah, to monetize your business. And in the overlapping thing, actually, this is where your business will reside. And what is special about it, if you are in a huge corporate, of course, yeah, every corporate it's very revenue driven. So, for example, if we look at companies, we check, hey, how much revenue are they doing, and we define or we evaluate if they are going well. And there's one thing about changes is actually how can you measure if you also grow in impact? Yeah, and that's the thing which is usually not easy to balance. Yeah, if, for example, if you allocate a budget on a new power tool, yeah, for the company is a low risk, yeah, doing a good business, while using this budget to do something totally different, you need an idea that you want to reach impact. If you keep out the impact, you will never go for something totally new. And I just want to raise awareness about this model. When you exactly look between those circles, there's a story I want to share with you. I call it the Renaissance of the Philosopher's Stone. So some of you might know Philosopher's Stone. This was in the medieval times, like a fairy tale about there's a stone, and with that one you can turn anything into gold. And actually it was not only a fairy tale, it's like for thousands of years already, mankind was looking for possibilities, chemical reactions and so on, how they can turn any material into gold. And one of the most known stories is the Philosopher's Stone. And I had once like a moment where I had the feeling, hey, someone got an idea how you can really turn something into gold. And it was actually some years ago, I wanted to buy a new smartphone. And when I look at the prices, I was like, oh, wow, that things are going like really expensive right now. And 20 seconds later, I already clicked the purchase button and I bought it. And then I was surprised, like, how was it so easy for me to do the decision? And I came to an experiment. And actually it's like this. Imagine your smartphone is in front of you. And there would be one of the medieval wizards and would tell you, hey, I can turn this device into a block of pure gold, like $100,000 worth. And you can just put it in your pocket. With only one small downside, you might never touch a smartphone in your life anymore. And when you think of this decision, if you really would go for the, oh, there's just one comment. I will add the link later on. If you would really go for it, I would say most people would understand, hey, this actually would be not a good deal to go for the block of gold. And that made me realize, hey, there's something really huge going on with this kind of impact revenue models. I just wanted to draw a bit what actually our team found out, how you might reach this Philosopher's Stone, which is for sure, it resides in the middle of these two circles. So what we know is you have to come from the impact side. So the path to this stone, definitely it's on the impact side, because if you just care about raising the revenues of your company, yeah, there are better ways to make a fast profit. So if you really go for this thing, you have to look at how can I change the world? And there's also one thing. The starting point, for sure, it's totally not obvious how you can make it. Because if it would be obvious, someone would have done it before. And the last thing is, if you go on the journey, be sure that yeah, it's at the starting point really complicated, and it might be not looking so promising. So you really have to believe in your journey. And next, I just want you to describe actually our thoughts. So how did we potentially find our path? And I just want to give you some insights on our thoughts on the starting point. So when we looked into construction, we heard a lot of buzzwords like building information modeling. Everyone is very keen about building information modeling, which is the 3D representation. And for sure, it's a big thing for construction, that everything is modeled before you can check your construction site, even before people are building it. For sure, this is really important. But the very obvious storyline is that you have this model and you calculate with all the information in the model, the perfect schedule for your teams. And actually, this is the thing where I very often show this picture. If you want to take like a huge amount of data to do a perfect schedule, this might work for a picture like this robots. But on construction, you have to deal with the people. And the reason why is there are more relevant information than only the building you want to construct. There's a lot of information around it, a lot of information which is within the people of different companies. And with one database, you usually don't cover all this information. Yeah, who is on vacation, yeah, or what are the flows of material? So it's very important. And for us, this is one key element, that you have to bring all these people together, that they can bring in their knowledge into the schedule. That by doing so, yeah, you give them the possibility to really commit to something. And when people commit to something and deliver, this builds trust between the whole team. So this is a total different game here than just looking on the technology side. And these are for us the non-obvious things for the future, that you have to care about team dynamics and so on. There's only one downside. And when you look at all these post-its, this information looks like an agile dead-end street. This information is just on a post-it and a sticky note, and at the end you throw it away. And this was also one of the very important moments when we realized if we digitize this post-it, there are huge potentials here. So we can calculate like very important KPIs for the teams on which gives, for example, the stakeholders, or the investors, possibilities to find out the risk of all the milestones and knowing when the construction might be finished. On the other side, it also gives possibilities that for the teams, they have they can find out on how their own performance is going. And even this could lead to different kind of contracting systems where you don't have to go for the cheapest price at the beginning. You can go more with who gives you the quality, who gives you the commitment. We have the connection to BIM. We see that it would be a really huge step if it's possible to click on your post-it And all of the foremen, they can directly see how this area actually looks like in the 3D representation to avoid mistakes. It would be really great if a post-it is done that automatically you can trigger like the costs, yeah, and you know who you should release the bills. Then also a very large thing is 3D 360-degree images for documentation. So you can bring your meeting on a total different level if you click on the post-it. If there's something, yeah, like when something has to be discussed, you click there and you directly can see how this actually looks like right now, to clarify this issues directly. And there's another very nice opportunity, especially for Bosch as an IoT player. It's like logistics. So people are always worrying about the materials. Is it delivering in time? Where is it on the construction side? So there are a lot of opportunities here. We already see that for each of these areas, there are already solutions. And by providing this kind of digital post-it schedule, there are huge opportunities directly to connect to all these possibilities I just mentioned. And this was for us a way to digitize construction in a bit different way than most people would address it. It's not like that we do a top-down management tool where we automatically shift all the post-its, because we believe in all the commitment of the people and want to make it easy for them to gain even more information. So that's the vision which was driving the team. Okay, let's now go a bit into how our work day looks like. Of course, I have to say this is not like an average workday. What I will show you, it shows more about how do you come from a very first idea to something, yeah, where you can connect with your clients. And here, for example, we were on this event, we were tackling a new feature about logistics. So first we made this kind of of map, also to make this area we want to tackle a bit smaller, because if we cover the whole logistic, that's too huge, the topic. So we just narrowed it down to like on-site logistic. And we did this with a method, it's called a design sprint. So for very first, we also interviewed people, who are dealing with logistics on their daily life. Then we came together, and as you see, this year was like a mixed group. So here are like designers, developers, also someone who is from the construction field. And with all this main question we had, we started to scribble some ideas. So everyone from each perspective was drawing some ideas how solutions could look like to help for the logistic topic. In the next step, and I have to say, so these were more the drawings of our designers, not the one I was drawing. They are looking really nice. So here, all these ideas, they come on a board. Actually, here we all come together and we do votings. So we all think of ideas from the others we really appreciate. And the best ones we mark with dots. And then at the end, and this is one of the most important things, is out of all the ideas, we are looking for like a whole journey, how a solution can look like. And when I say a whole journey, this is so important because if you have an idea and there is one step which might be not feasible, the whole idea would break. So that's always what we challenge each other is, does the whole flow of working at the end? Okay, so now I just talked about a bit, so how actually does a process look like to ideate new ideas? And I also want to mention at the end, at this point, that of course this is also very important to raise a community, because with all these drawings and ideas, we can address our customer group. Especially at the beginning, this is really important that you show all your ideas to the market, and you might find people who really love it, and you are raising a first community. And really, I have to say, this is also one of the biggest learning with this community. It's really, it makes it much better to convince all your management. So this is why this process has also like a really good effect. With this slide here, I just want to cover a different aspect. So I was talking a lot about how do you find your vision and your path and ideas. But there's another thing. Maybe you remember the crazy line on this impact side to find the philosopher's stone. If you want to go for such ideas, you have to make sure that you have the right team for it. And you have to describe them, not only what you want to reach, you have also to describe them what they might expect. And we came up with the idea, we call it travel agency, which describes the way for your journey a bit as a traveling. And the reason why is, with a traveling, a lot of people can imagine what they are expecting. And there's also one aspect is, if you go for a journey and there's someone who has different expectation, you can imagine how struggling this is. So with this kind of method, we identify like complexity levels, for example, going like long distance walking day by day, up to hiking, up to climbing, like also imagining several days into the mountains, could be even more complex, until you finally you go like to the North Pole, or you're like Christopher Columbus going crazy with the ships to a place where people even think, hey, you might die. Yeah. And it's really important to make sure to everyone on which kind of level this journey might be. Because on the one side, if it's too easy, some people are frustrated. If it's too complicated, people won't understand why you are in these crazy situations. And we decided to be like on a space travel, that we have to find a new a planet for Bosch, like a construction planet, where we can bring new business for the future. And all our Scrum events, all our like midterm goals, actually we packed into that kind of storylines to make it more understandable. Okay, actually I would come a bit more to the end now. Here's a slide with actually the questions from the board. So what actually convinced them, and as you saw our approach, like that we defined our user pains. For example, that was quite an obvious thing for our management. Yeah, that we validated our solution based on UX and interviews. So that was for the setup we were going. This were like more like the good parts. So also for, do we have what we need to play in the field? Of course, that was questionable, because if you go to something new, you need more like developers for platforms and so on. So here it gets a bit more challenging to convince people, and here you definitely need at the beginning external experts. then of course they always want to see what have you learned. Yeah, and I can say our biggest learning was raising the community, and the community directly helped. Also giving them or making them confident that this is a good path. Also the question, have you failed and why? This is also an interesting thing. I guess we can also talk a bit in the Q&A session. It's interesting because there comes always the question, what is really a fail? Yeah, it's always connected to expectation, and you have to set the right expectation, so you have the right KPIs to answer it. Is it independent business, or can it be integrated into a core? Clearly, for us, there is a same user group, but also this was a really struggling question, because our solution is really a bit far away from the core business. So if you see the whole ecosystem, the long-term future, yes, of course, we pay into the core business, but yeah, you need some visionary ideas to see that coming, and that at the beginning, to be honest, was questioned a lot. The big potential of construction market, there are super good service, so that was quite a good point. And is it connected to our strategic goals? Again, like independent business, this is something where you really have to show about, hey, you can care about the core business. You can go with showing on or with searching an impactful solution. And this is something, yeah, which is also like yeah, taking time to really identify that new things belong to a strategic goal for your core business as well. And at the end, what's the business impact? Here we also tackled the persona on construction. The persona, which is on the one side, the user of power tools, and on the other side, in a process where he has to care about digitization, yeah, where he cares about this agile transformation. And here, yeah, we could really show that with the same persona, we can give him a great value with RefinemySite. And actually, I would say that's what actually I wanted to show you. The rest are some pictures about RefinemySite, showing you that you, with our solution, you can yeah, schedule on different levels, like long-term planning with milestones, 6 weeks look ahead with your teams, and you can bring it down to daily working packages where people are aligned for the next week. You can directly combine it with documentation on site, and it already gives you KPIs on how your team are performing. So this is the base of RefinemySite. I mean, you just see that you can also work on this one with remote teams, and you see that this is the typical setup. You have a touch screen in front of everyone, the construction site manager moderating, and all the people, they can work in real time, all on the same schedule. So this just shows you a bit the setup. And here, this shows you also about if you have an impact, so an impactful solution, you might reach the point where your solution really scales. And what you see here on the diagram is the usage of our platform from the very beginning, like the early days, end of 2018. That was the first basic release. On that one, we worked until we had a solution where we thought, okay, we can scale it. And then also COVID supported this trend, and yeah, we were just on the right timing here. Okay, so there are the takeaways. I all mentioned them before. It's On the one side, it helps a lot if you have a strong brand for innovation, but you need also a leadership which is supporting it and at the end, so you have to convince them. Companies must be open to try and accept failure, otherwise they just go with taking out revenues on what they are really good at, yeah, and they neglect everything new. Innovative teams need a total different setup and governance. I mentioned a bit imagining all the experts developing power tools, and now we come in and we totally have other demands, yeah. And you can only leverage this at the beginning if you work with external experts helping you at the beginning, and then building like a huge team of Bosch internals, externals, all working together. And as I said, you need the right group of people. That's what I mentioned with our travel agency model. Yeah, you have to make them sure that everyone knows where they're going to, and you need a big vision, and you have to start small and always care about the user. Okay, so that's it from my side.
Great, thank you very much, Stefan. And Rafael and Fermin, we'd love to have you back and jump into some Q&A. It was an excellent presentation. You know, just yesterday we heard that, you know, the older and more established an organization is, the more challenging they more challenges they have around innovation, because they're afraid to fail, and it's more about protecting what they have. And you guys are doing the exact opposite, which is really fascinating. I'd like to invite the audience to go ahead and pop any questions into the Q&A field. And I'd like to get you guys kind of started with one. How does an old company who's been around for 135 years, right? How do you keep that entrepreneurial spirit within the organization?
So I can go through. It was, I think one, leadership is absolutely supporting, which is great. So I think without having the leadership to willing to invest into new businesses and knowing that on most of the cases, we're probably going to fail. This is critical. So definitely majority of the investments of the Bosch company still goes into the core business, but it's great that we have a leadership team that is accepting that we might lose money, that we might gonna fail, but this is pretty much like a startup model. So we might build a new unicorn within Bosch. So that's what keeps us keep going. But again, we always go through those. It's not that we invest on every single idea in projects that we have 400,000 people. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of great ideas out there. Imagine that they would invest on every single idea. So that's why Bosch created this innovation framework method, where definitely you can come up with the ideas, but if you don't go through this innovation framework process, your idea is not going to go through. So only about 2% of the ideas generated will turn into or getting to the end, which means that we're scaling the business, pretty much what Stefan did. And the other one is completely different setup. If we're joining a completely new idea, which is not connected to the core business, you need to give this team freedom, trust them, and they might fail or they might succeed, but let them work. Let's not be a roadblock. Let's not be an obstacle for the team, because we start adding the same rules, the same processes, or the same leadership mindset with them, they will completely fail, or not fail because of their ideas or their products, but fail because of our own methods and organizations that we apply on the core business. So we need a completely different setup. So within our team, we're very cross-functional. There's a lot of flat hierarchy on the team. We're all peers. We're all working together. So this helped a lot. So it didn't happen overnight. In order for Bosch to transform into a traditional organization into a more agile organization was a process that took about 4 to 5 years. And I think we're still on the process to become even more agile and working with cross-functional teams, reduce the hierarchy. This is something that didn't happen overnight. It's still an ongoing process. I think that's pretty much that. Anything else, Stefan?
Actually, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, I can add a little bit more also outside of the view that RefinemySite provided, because I see this in other business units. So at the end of the day, you have naturally in a large organization, you have people that have these instincts of becoming, being innovative, et cetera. And like Rafael was saying, it's very important to foster. And once these ideas and the people are identified, you have to help them, right? I mean, the organization has to be naturally helping them grow the idea in a way that it doesn't feel, first of all, intrusive, but also on the other side with a lot of trust, like Rafa was saying. You cannot just give the expectation to people that, oh, your idea has to be perfect. You have to make sure you know how you're going to make money, all these other things. You need to make sure that it's a safe environment to fail, that you have the right support, and the connector is exactly an example how we are saying, let's take some of these innovators out of their day-to-day work and environment and put them in an environment that feels different and is more drives mentally and physically into a place where it's okay to try new things and to talk to other people that are in the same path, because being an entrepreneur could be also a lonely way to do things. So you have to show people there's a community, there's other people going through the same things that you are going through. So that's also very important.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. So there are two questions that popped in, and I'm going to kind of blend them together. And they're around Bosch bringing RefinemySite to market. So how do you do that without having direct customer relationships and access to GCs and subcontractors? And can you help us better understand who your typical customer or your typical users are, and how your solution supports the overall owner's mission within a project?
Yeah, maybe Rafa, just let me start with the beginning.
Please.
The question was going in the direction of how we can do this without direct customer relationship. And this is something where this UX approach is really important, because at the beginning, yes, true. At the beginning, we didn't have like a strong network, but by developing and showing ideas and bringing people from outside on board from the industry, this spread it, and then you deliver like a first solution, and the community is growing and growing. So even without having any like huge relationships, it definitely was possible. And then, of course, the Bosch Power Tools also now has a direct to user approach, and this now brings stuff really together. So our sales is more directly on the construction sites, and now having this solution for construction that fits totally well. And Rafa, your thoughts on it, or?
Not exactly the same. So within the traditional Bosch Power Tools business, we don't sell our products or solutions directly to the general contractors or trade contractors. So we always go through a distributor partner. You're all familiar here in the United States, for example, Home Depot or Lowe's, or very traditional distributors on the construction industry. But as Stefan mentioned, I think one of the major advantages of Bosch, one is the trust on the brand as well. So GCs, they know about us, they heard about our brand, and they trust the quality of what Bosch is delivering, and they know the financial stability that Bosch has, which can be to investors. So even though at the beginning we didn't have much direct relationship with general contractors, as soon as we started bringing this product to the market, it really opened the doors, opens the doors by having this very strong brand and showing our product. And even though, like Stefan mentioned today, we start small with the MVP back a year and a half ago, but when they see the vision where we want to take this, they really feel part of it. They can be partnering with us on helping building this vision to build and create a product which will be definitely a great fit for them. And the other one, we have a great relationship with the users. Even though our traditional user or who is buying RefinemySite is the general contractor, the users will be the last planners. So the last planners are the ones that we invited in to join a project using RefinemySite, and we have a very strong relationship with the last planners because they are the trade partners. They're the one using our Bosch products and power tools as well. So they're already familiar, and they can become part of this ecosystem of Bosch power tools, and this digital solution called now RefinemySite.
Yeah, maybe I can also answer the second question. Of course, we already talked that the general contractor is the typical customer for us and for this solution. If we talk about the users, as Rafa said, it's also the foremans. Yeah, so they are also involved in this platform because they want to schedule all together and commit to what they want to do in the next weeks. And for the owner's perspective, it's really important to see that on the one side, these agile approaches, they reduce a lot of waste. On the other side, if you really want to see how is your project doing right now on a higher level, especially like how much risk is in all the milestones, this is something what we can offer for the owners. Is like higher level KPIs, so they don't have to look at all these post-its, and for them this is a bit worthless. So they get like KPIs, how the project is running. So that's actually how we address them.
And here in the United States, just a few examples. Then we have a owner for a healthcare organization, and they're already asking their general contractors, which they work with, to use RefinemySite, but again, he wants to have one they're very into and committed to Lean and Lean construction, and also they really liked the solution, which will help them to give more visibility and transparency, because they can also be added and see the dashboard, what's going on within the project. And the other one for us, for example, a owner of it's a restaurant chain here in the United States, so they've been building about every 3 days they open a new restaurant in the United States. They're actually building simultaneously about 10 to 12 restaurants simultaneously in the United States. So he, as an owner, he wanted to see, and he have this weekly meeting with the superintendents from all those projects, and he wanted to see on one dashboard the status of each of those projects. And he wanted to have similar standard key performance indicators of each of his projects. And now that the general contractor is working within, which he has about 30 different GCs, that preferable GCs that he works with, now every single restaurant that is built for then as an owner, he asks the general contractor to use RefinemySite on the project. So when he has these weekly meetings with the superintendents, they're all looking to the same things. They can be comparable to each of them. They can see who is the status of the milestones that they want to achieve. So they can definitely see that. So for the owner, also is a great perspective as well.
So there's another question that came through that is really more, it's about your R&D budget. So you guys have an 8.2% R&D budget, which is a huge deal. And in the construction industry, it's an even huger deal because so often there's such a focus on overhead and driving down overhead and G&A. And so tell us a little bit more about that and how the organization feels about that budget being set at that rate.
Correct. I think the industry that has the highest R&D budget is the pharmaceutical companies. They invest close to 20% or 20-25% goes back into R&D. But I think if you want to keep on that innovative path and being one of the most innovative companies, definitely R&D budget is critical. So you need to invest. And pretty much a lot of the investments goes into very long term. As I think this is the advantage of being like a German company. They really think really long term, especially on the mobility. A lot of this budget also goes to mobility sectors, like they've been talking about electrical vehicle and smart cities. This is something that it's been talking for at least over 10 years, and it's not easy to develop this type of technology. It takes a long time. So if really want to become and continue being a relevant industry for every different business that we work, R&D is extremely important. We as Bosch RefinemySite, Stefan knows this, I think he's laughing here. We need to fight for, okay, what do we get? So there's a lot of internal meetings that we need to present, how much of this R&D budget will be invested for the power tools division, and within the power tools division, which our power division, how much of this budget will be invested on our project specifically, because yes, we have a lot, like we want to build safer tools or different technology for our battery platform, for our core business. So internally, we're still fighting to get the right budgets, which most of the budget also goes to the core business, but we're lucky that the company also invests on those new business ideas, which we're not on the explore, we're on the explore, not on the exploit portion. So it is a constantly, I'll say, battle for us as well, because we need to fight for business, and the only way we're going to make sure that this is the right investors is answering on a quarterly basis those questions on board meetings, convincing the decision makers that what we're doing is actually something it's worth investment. And the last meeting actually happened in September, and we made it, which is good.
We're still here.
We're still here. Yeah, correct. We're still here. And absolutely in another 2-3 months, there will be another meeting with the board of management, and they're going to make those tough questions, and we're going to see if we continue. But we're very positive that you can trust. RefinemySite is not going to go away. You're here. You can trust us. They're really happy with what we're showing.
But you see the parallels, right, between RefinemySite and other startups outside of the company, right? They also need to look for funding. They need to fight for, approvals, and the investors need to say, yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going.
It is exactly the same process. Even though it is like a startup, we are a startup, but instead of having funding from venture capital, we have our own internal one investor, which is Bosch.
Exactly.
But we still need to pitch to them. We still need to go through a lot of tough meetings as well, that we need to answer a lot of questions, and people, we need to keep showing traction. We need to show that we're really doing something that's worth investment. Yeah, not easy, but we make it.
Yeah. And we even made it to a nice raise in budget. So next year will be really great, and we're looking forward to it. So I'm very happy as product owner that I know that we can deliver like very nice features on RefinemySite. So it's a bit like the dream came true, and very sure our customers will be very pleased.
And Stefan and I, we've been working for Bosch for many years. We've seen businesses that they have to stop funding, even though the idea was great, but Bosch didn't believe that this was the right path to go. And unfortunately, not fortunately, but yeah, this happens. And sometimes it's not worth, even though after millions investing on something, they might take the decision to divest on some businesses, and it happens.
Great, thank you guys very much. Stuart?
Great, well, thank you. And I would like to as well repeat that thank you to Rebecca, to Stefan, Rafael, and Fermin. So it was so great to hear really about such a large organization, an organization that we all know about, but surely the commitment to that a large company can actually do innovation in such a way that I think it's a very compelling story, and for our industry, for the design and construction industry, which is certainly a large industry, but not certainly large companies. But really learn some of the things that you have found and discovered. For example, there are a couple of themes that also helped us as it relates to some of the other things we've learned in this conference, which is that we have to have the ability to accept failure in order to actually to have innovation. And so hearing that, and especially for such a large company, that's just a tremendous message. And so we really appreciate hearing that in that way, and that and you've turned that into a success. I think that was really important to also appreciate the fact that you really have startups within your large organization, which is really, I think it's very insightful for us to hear, and helps us with our the people that we're trying to have create a catalyst for innovation, to start to think about how these startups can really make a difference for to generate the ideas and the new ideas. And so I certainly RefinemySite is very interesting, and I wanted to just explore that even more, not in this session, but with our with our followers. And then I think the other thing that was really, really well received in the sense that from our community is to really understand that innovation only happens with cross-functional teams. And so again, to hear this at such a large organization, and I think we all personally probably have several of your products. So it's interesting to see how that history has come about, but to see how that, to having the cross-functional teams really does create that opportunity for innovation. So would really, and then last, I think maybe is just to really hear how that journey that you described in terms of the framework that it takes to move an idea forward. It's been very refreshing to hear how you're able to achieve that so successfully. And so really do appreciate your bringing that out to us and having that conversation with us and letting us really understand better how you're able to do this, and hopefully others now can really learn from that as well. So and I think finally, I think the idea of thinking big, starting small is certainly an important learning. And so I think for speaking for CIDCI, I really appreciate everything that you have provided us today, and the lessons and the thinking. And again, and certainly, any opportunity we have to work together in some way, we really appreciate it. But your commitment and your support of CIDCI is really appreciated.
Thank you. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, everyone. It was a pleasure being here today. If you like more information, please reach out to us. Or if anyone eventually comes to Chicago, let us know. I'll be happy to have you here at the Chicago Connectory, or anything you need. We're more than happy to connect with you.
Well, thank you.
Sharing our innovation framework, if you want to learn more, if you want to bring this into your company, we're happy to share everything that we know. So I think this is, one of our goals as a company is to share all our learnings and then help others as well to succeed.
I think we want to visit your international sites for innovation. I think that, thank you for sharing this. But again, that's really impressive to see how you've organized this, not just locally, but internationally.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sounds great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and also looking forward for questions and discussions on all these innovative topics. We always like to discuss ideas and find new approaches.
Thanks everyone for joining us. We're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow on Thursday for a conversation led by KP Reddy, a member of the CIDCI Board of Directors, on startups changing the world. So look forward to seeing you 8 a.m. Pacific time. You need to pre-register on the CIDCI.org website. So thank you to Rebecca for doing a fabulous job of moderating this panel. Fermin, Rafael, and Stefan for leading us in this visionary conversation. It's really helpful for us. I unfortunately didn't get my question answered, so I'll leave you to ponder it, which is how an organization like CIDCI can help serve a community of innovators. So in other words, taking off your business hat to saying, how can we as a nonprofit organization best serve your needs going forward? So I don't know that we've got time for us, but I'm really looking forward to your comments offline on that.
Sure.
So thank you again so much for your time. We'll look forward to seeing you in Chicago or maybe
Yes.
Stuttgart. Thank
That's
you all
great.
so much. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.